I know you people like hidden gems. I know you people like fragrances that aren't talked about a lot. Today we'll be talking about a fragrance that definitely doesn't get the hype that it deserves. And had I had this fragrance before I dropped the top 10 lists, it definitely would have had a seat in the crowd. Stay tuned. What's going on, fragrance family? I'm Joshua, and this is our channel, ScentSense. To all the loyal subscribers who continue to tune in and week out when these videos go live, to you people, you would make it happen. And to all you new people who are maybe checking the channel out for the very first time and you're window shopping and you haven't been able to make up your mind if you know you want to stick around, we won't bum rush you like what's-his-face did to Tom Ford. We don't have any pressure here, guys. No pressure. In this installment of ScentSense, we'll be talking about a fragrance from the house of Xerjoff. So before we get started, guys, I'm just gonna throw this out there because, you know, for continuity purposes, some people will whine and complain, and I figured my, resume would speak for itself. But alas, some of you are new, some of you may not know me. Just so you know, bought this fragrance with my own hard-earned moolah. So, to all you people who may just, jump off these videos right when you find out it's sponsored or someone sent me something to review or whatever you want to call it, that's not one of these, so you can stick around. This fragrance, in my opinion, is without a doubt the strongest, if not one of the strongest summer fragrances I've ever smelled. It's really, really strong in the fact that it's going to push out, project as if it's the dead of winter and you're rocking something from like Parfums de Marly or like a super heavy tobacco or leathery fragrance. Those fragrances meant to cut through the cold. This fragrance doesn't have those notes, but it performs in a way that those fragrances do, which is really unlikely. So enough of the build-up, guys. Let's just jump right into it. The fragrance we're talking about is from the house of Xerjoff, from the Join the Club line. The fragrance is 40 knots. So I'm not gonna do this big dramatic presentation thing that some people do. I'm just gonna show you the presentation and precursor. For all you big Xerjoff and niche fans who may get triggered, you may wanna skip past the next like 30 to 45 seconds because you might get butthurt. So as you can see, it comes in this gigantic leather-bound box, which is beautiful, but quite overbearing and quite maybe overcompensating. So it says Xerjoff on the bottom, as you can see here. It's got the big X on the top. It's their, insignia, I guess you could say. It opens up like so. It's got this fancy paper that's feltish. It opens up like that, and then bam, the fragrance. It's also got the big X in the back for those of you who care. It's got the fancy logo and name across the paper. And that's about that. And you know what we do with this, guys, no matter how fancy it is? Get that out of here. I think I heard a ricochet. A ricochet off of the wall. Very good, very good. Now that we're done talking about the box, which I've already told you guys, in my opinion, is not that big of a deal. It's kind of like talking about a box that your cereal comes in or talking about a box that your TV came in. Like, do you still have a box to your television on presentation, on display? If you do, you're weird. So let's talk about the bottle, because you know what? Outside of the juice, sometimes the bottle does matter to some people. And you know what? I think sexy bottles are sexy. So as you can see with this bottle, you're gonna get this beautiful blue, slightly, as some would say, opulent glass. It's got the JTC right here, which means join the crew. It's got the 40 knots right here with the knot logo. It's got the Xerjoff X, and it's got this really cool, like, Senator Palpatine kind of cap. It says Xerjoff on the bottom. On the bottom, you've got that sticker that tells you it's eau de parfum concentration. It's 50 milliliters. It's got some place where it was made. Oh, made in Italy, and a batch code. Oh, and look at that. It's got a little X on the cap, if you can see that. In case you needed like an X to mark the spot of where to spray. In case you get lost. So if you took this bottle and you did what a lot of people would do, especially if you're in a department store or someplace where you're smelling fragrances, you're gonna grab the bottle before you even spray and do like this. Or some people would Smell the inside of the cap, which, Jesus Christ, another X. There's like X's everywhere. Like if this was a treasure map, I would be lost. You can hold the bottle by the cap. It does like super tightly fit and it's super snug. So as far as a bottle and presentation, it's top notch. As far as the inspiration for this fragrance, the Join the Crew fragrance line was supposed to be based after certain places or clubs. This is supposed to be based off of yachting clubs. I don't know why, but every time I think about this fragrance, I think of two songs. I think of I'm on a Boat by Andy Samberg and the Lonely Island Boys, and then I also think of Rio by Duran Duran. Her name is Rio and she dances in the sand. So enough talking about how pretty the bottle is and enough talking about how beautiful the box is. Let's get into what you came here for. If you have ScentSense, we're talking about the juice. And like I was saying earlier, if you smell straight directly from the bottle, you're gonna get this super strong fragrance presence before you even spray it. So don't smell, if you ever get this fragrance, straight from the bottle and expect that to be exactly what you're gonna get the life of the fragrance, because this fragrance definitely develops and it definitely does what I've experienced with Xerjoff fragrances and other high-end niche perfumers. It develops. This is not something that you're gonna just spray on your skin and it's that for the whole time. This is not Versace Mano Fraiche, which is delicious by the way, but just this the whole way. This is going to develop, move, it's gonna give a mood, it's gonna change, it's going to morph like a Power Ranger. It's morphin' time! Too much? So apparently Xerjoff's really close to the belt when it comes to notes for this fragrance. All I could find on Fragrantica is that they have woody notes, it's got green notes, it's got some blue notes, it's got some sea salt, and it's got, what else? Oh, cedar. So basically it's a watery, earthy, salty, woody summer fragrance. The cool thing about this fragrance is, even though from my interpretation of this fragrance and what it's trying to pull off, I think this fragrance could be worn anytime. But before we jump into seasons and how to wear and where to wear, let's continue with the way it smells. So now that you have some kind of idea based on the notes that I gave you or the lack thereof of what this smells like, let me paint you a picture of what I get from this. From initial blast, you're going to get super duper strong aquatic, but yet piercing and thick aquatic notes. What you're gonna get directly out of the opening, in my opinion, is what Jeremy Fragrance describes as the strength of the ocean. He's describing a much lesser fragrance, but that description would be exactly what I would talk about if I was describing this fragrance. It almost has like an amber-like accord. A lot of people on Fragrantica, which I didn't notice this until after, but people on Fragrantica say it smells a lot like Amber Nuit from, I think it's that private collection from Dior. Do I think it's 100% like super amber, like real authentic amber, like the actual note of amber? No, but I think it gives us distinct presence of an amber-like accord. It's very thick, it's very rich, and as someone who is obsessed with this brand would say, it's very opulent. Once the heaviness starts to wear off, which takes a little while, it's gonna start bringing in these green notes and these watery notes and that saltiness. If I had to describe what I think about when I smell this fragrance, I think of Bulgari Aqua, the very first one, done super fancy, super niche, and like taken to the very next level. This is the difference between Honda and Acura, Toyota and Infiniti, Nissan and Lexus. A lot of times niche fragrances will come off as okay, pretty good, but you could probably get something close to that in the designer realm. You're not gonna get this in the designer realm. You're not gonna get a fragrance that has this presence. As a fragrance starts to wear longer and longer on your skin, the projection starts to die down, but it still projects pretty darn well. It takes a while for it to get to this point, but it does get to a point where it's like maybe an elbow to the chest length, half an arm length, but yet it still pushes out. And when it gets to that point, it starts to become, I don't want to say creamier, but softer and more oceanic and more watery and more of what I want to smell like. So having said that, the top notes, the beginning of this fragrance kind of gives me more of a fallish, maybe even winter style of fragrance, because it's very, very heavy and strong, but it starts to wear down a little bit, and then you get that oceanic vibe, that sailing on a yacht vibe. I think Opening, you get yacht club. Middle to end, you get on a yacht. So let's jump into longevity. A lot of people will say stuff like, oh man, the longevity is nuclear. It will melt your face off. It lasts forever. And then you go buy that fragrance because that person has hyped it, and you get home and you spray it on you, and then 3 hours later you're like, no, I didn't spray it on this. What? And then you're pissed. But I can tell you this much. Maybe it's just this bottle that I got. Maybe it's just the bottle that a lot of people I know got. This stuff is super strong. It's the strength of the ocean. I get, and I'm not exaggerating, 12 to 15 hours with this fragrance. 12 to 15 hours. And that's with me underspraying my normal spray rotation. I usually do one on each wrist, one on each side of the neck, one on the back of the neck, and one on the chest. That's a lot. That's like 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, that's 6. Yeah, that's 6. Bad math. So having said that, spraying this just once on each side of the neck and once on the chest, which is only 3 sprays, 12 to 15 hours of longevity. As far as projection goes, this is going to give you an arm's length projection or more for 4, maybe even 5 hours. I know that sounds redonkulous, especially for a summertime fragrance, but I'm not making this up, people. This is exactly what I got out of it, which is why I was so excited to talk about this. This is the fragrance that all the people who watch these videos are like, oh, well, I don't know if I want to buy that because longevity and projection and sillage are at the top of my list. It just has to be super beast mode. For those people, get this. This will definitely do that for you. As far as sillage, listen, it doesn't matter if you're on a yacht. It doesn't matter if you're surfboarding in the ocean. It doesn't matter if you're literally in the middle of a field. People will smell you for what seems like miles. This stuff really, really pushes out, but then it just lingers. It just floats in the air like a creamy, buttery goodness that it is when it comes to summertime. You're going to get that zesty saltiness that's just gonna flow off your skin. And when it gets really hot, this really, really projects. So as far as projection and sillage, you're going to get fantastic performance. And I mean, it's gonna perform well in those categories. I already talked about performance. Don't be that guy. So when to wear? I think if you were wearing this is something that you can wear for a special occasion. If you're going to wear this for a special occasion, I would think something indoors. I think this could work outdoors. It will definitely work at maybe like an outdoor wedding, maybe during the summertime, but you would have to spray lightly. You do not want to spray a lot. You're gonna make everyone and their mama wonder what the heck they're smelling. It'll smell great, but you'll kind of be that guy, and no one wants to be that guy. I could picture someone dressed up wearing this inside a yacht club, like at a banquet at a yacht club, like hanging out with his friends, like, hello there, Patrick, I'm wearing Fortune Arts by Xerjoff. That doesn't mean you can't wear this in other occasions, but I think this would be best suited optimally for a dressed up occasion, maybe on a summer evening. I do think this fragrance has that rare ability of a fragrance that's great for summertime, but will perform in all other seasons. Look, outside of the fragrance world, people who watch these videos or collect these fragrances, people will just buy a fragrance because it smells good and they don't care. They just wear it whenever they want. The average guy who's going to walk into a Dillard's that buys Versace Men Eau Fresh is not going to buy that because he's like, oh man, this is a great summertime fragrance. He's going to buy it because he thinks it smells good and he can get girls, and he's going to wear it anytime he wants. And he's going to over-apply during the wintertime, wondering why it doesn't seem to work as good as when he first got it, which is probably in the summertime. Hence the point, seasons, when to wear these. When it comes to affordability, this fragrance can be had from, I think the website's called Xerjoff Universe, for approximately 180 to 200 US once the translation happens, once the euro to dollar happens. It's somewhere around the $200 mark. I'll go ahead and leave the price somewhere right here. Just standing here for dramatic effect. Now the question everyone's gonna ask after watching this video in completion is, would I buy it? Or would I buy it now that I've smelled it? The answer is yes. I did blind buy this, but yes, I would buy this again. I would definitely suggest to you to buy it. I would suggest that you smell it first though. If you can get you a sample from Scent Split or Lucky Scent or one of those different fragrance companies that sell samples and decants, I think it'd be a great idea to get your hands on that first. I think that this is a big time purchase, and I think a lot of people who watch this channel are just average guys like me. So if that's the case and you want to make an investment in a fragrance that you feel like is a game changer, and you've been wanting to make a big purchase because you're tired of buying a bunch of cheaper fragrances, or you just want to get something that you know is going to stick in your collection and not end up on a Facebook fragrance swap group or trying to sell it to get rid of it, I think this one definitely will work for you guys. Like I said earlier in the video, had I made my top 10 niche summer fragrances list after I received this, there's no doubt, unquestionable, that this would be in my top 10, probably in the top 5. This one is probably one that I'll hold on for a very long time to. I think it's really cool because I always wanted to own a Xerjoff. I just really didn't feel the need to reach for the other ones that I smelled, such as Naxos or Neo, because there were alternatives out there that I thought were just as good, if not better. There's nothing out there that's as good as this, there's nothing that's better than this, and there's nothing that smells like this or that's made to interpret this. So at this point and this time, this is the only way to go with this, and it's spectacular. All right, folks, that does it for me. Thank you so much for sticking around and so much for stopping by. And as I said before, if this is your very first time checking out the channel, or maybe you've checked out the channel a couple times, why don't you stick around? Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. But if you don't want to subscribe, it's okay. Just come back for more. But if you do consider subscribing, or you are subscribed, go ahead and smash that notification bell. That way, the YouTube algorithm, that is a complete failure most of the time, will let you know when my videos come out. And that way, you'll be the first to know. Go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section below. Have you smelled this fragrance? What do you think about this fragrance? Would you like to smell this fragrance? What are some other fragrances that you look forward to wearing from the niche world this summer? And most importantly, guys, I'll smell each and every one of you later. Peace!